Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Premier says she is committed to human rights, especially as it affects the gay and lesbian community in Alberta. She has even scored big points by taking part in the Pride Week festivities in both Edmonton and Calgary. So my question is to the Premier. Why has the Premier consistently avoided removing the odious Section 11.1 from the Human Rights Act?
That's a good question.
The Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, there is not a doubt in the mind of any Albertan that we support choices and lifestyle and people who live whatever way that they want to in this province with respect to sexual orientation, Mr. Speaker. And what I will say with respect to all of the work that is being done for the first time by this government, Mr. Speaker, is that there is a comprehensive consultative process going on with members of the gay and lesbian community to ensure that we have a fully comprehensive legislative, regulatory and policy framework that respects all human rights in this province.
Honourable Member for the Centre.
Well, not while that section's still there. So, back to the Premier. Could the Premier please explain why, during the election, the Premier sold herself and her government as progressives, especially to the under 40 voters, yet flip-flopped fast in refusing to remove that very section and continuing to propose legislation that upholds racial and religious practices but won't even name sexual orientation and gender identity?
Good question. Good question.
Honourable Premier.
Mr. Speaker, without speaking specifically to the legislation that is before this House at the moment, what we did in this election, Mr. Speaker, is we spoke to Albertans about being a progressive and inclusive and a respectful government. And what that means, Mr. Speaker, is that everyone in Alberta has rights that need to be protected. All rights need to be balanced. We have to be consistent with our Constitution. And, Mr. Speaker, this government will stand up for that and will not be subject to political stunts.
Honourable Member.
Balancing human rights. Back to the Premier. How does the Premier explain the proposed government policy which allows parents to teach their children at home that homosexuality is a sin and that being gay or lesbian is bad, but denies teachers the ability to even talk about sexuality in the classroom without the sword of the Human Rights Commission Damocles hanging over their heads?
Good question.
That is a characterization that does nothing but provoke fear and intolerance on all parts of this discussion, Mr. Speaker. We are proud of the fact that in this province we have legislation that is consistent with our Bill of Rights, Mr. Speaker, with the Charter of Rights and Freedom, Mr. Speaker, and ensures that we do what every court in this country does, Mr. Speaker, which is truly balance the rights of all Canadians.